1945, the Red Army conquers Berlin and Nazi Germany officially surrenders, ending the Second World War. The Soviet Union dominated almost half of Europe and left many Western countries in fear of a communist invasion. So the United States created NATO, which was unofficially an anti-Soviet alliance. But the most intriguing thing is that the Soviet Union itself requested to join NATO, which makes us curious about why the Soviet Union wanted to join NATO. In 1945, with the fall of Germany, the map of Europe was completely redrawn. The Soviet Union occupied all of Eastern Europe with its Red Army and forced the occupied countries to install socialist regimes that would obey Moscow's orders. Everyone who lived in Western Europe was afraid that one day a new world war would happen, and that little by little the Soviet Union would conquer several countries. So the United States, together with other Western countries, created NATO, which was a mutual defense organization, and that in theory any European country could join. But everyone knew that NATO's main reason was to defend itself against a communist threat. And even Stalin, who was the leader of the Soviet Union, knew that this could be a threat to Moscow's power. But in 1953, something unexpected happened to Stalin. He died, and after his death, there were several internal changes in the Soviet Union, and some influential Soviet politicians had an idea. The Soviet Union would apply to join NATO even though they knew it would probably be refused. But why did they do it? Simple answer. In both scenarios, the Soviet Union would win. For them to join NATO, in return they would propose the reunification of Germany as a neutral state, which could not militarize and would be prohibited from entering any military alliance, for fear that Germany would try to dominate Europe again. And so NATO would become just a military alliance for European defense and would be anti-German, which for the Soviets would be good because it would make the alliance almost useless and prevent the United States from trying to reduce Soviet influence. But if NATO refused Soviet entry, this would make it clear that NATO was an anti-Soviet alliance, which would give strength for the Soviet Union to create its own military alliance internally, to defend itself and try to spread its influence throughout the world, which was very pleasing to Soviet leaders. And as everyone knows, NATO refused Soviet entry, saying that it was not democratic and illegally occupied the countries of Eastern Europe. Then, shortly after, the Soviet Union created the Warsaw Pact, which was a military alliance between the Soviet Union and the countries controlled by it in Eastern Europe, and which would be one of the main marks of the Cold War.